In this lesson I'm going to be using overdrive. This is what it sounds like. And for leads. Now overdrive is created by using a specific effects pedal to do the job, or by cranking the amplifier very, very loud. For this lesson we're going to learn how to do split harmonics. It's where you take the pick with your right hand and you position it in such a way that when you're playing a lead note, instead of a regular sound, you get a kind of a pingy high-end sound. That's a split harmonic. Let's take a look now. To begin with, we have to hold the pick correctly. Normally, the end of the pick pokes out underneath where the thumb is, but in this case, we draw the edge of the pick up level with the thumb. And what we really need to do is get it in such a position so that there are two surface areas striking the string almost at the same time. So we have the pick, I can just get it like that, up level with the edge of the thumb. Now if you can see when I'm here, I get the tip of the pick and my thumb striking the string at the same time. Now just to let you know, I'm playing the third string and I'm holding down the 5th fret with my first finger in the pentatonic scale. Now the best place to get this harmonic, split harmonic sound is usually around the neck pickup around here. We have to experiment to see which areas it will produce the sound. So let's try now, shall we? There's one. Well, there's a really good one right there. Now, you probably will have to try this in order to get the sensation of feeling how it works, but you can feel the pick and the fleshy part of your thumb actually play the string at the same time. Now I just did a bend there on the 7th fret. Best thing to do is to just practice that. It's really way easier to get with overdrive. And in this case I'm using humbucking pickups. That's 2 single coils joined together, which are giving me quite a nice fat sound. Now when you're playing with overdrive, it introduces a different tonal element, of course, but apart from that, some of the notes and features of your phrases will change quite a bit compared to when you're playing clean. For example, when you end a phrase with overdrive, the note will sustain almost indefinitely. When you're clean, the note's going to die away and fall off quite quickly. So that raises the question, when you end a phrase, should you let the note sustain or should you shut it down? That's something to think about. For example, when we covered surprise endings earlier on, most of the surprise endings involve shutting down the note. So be aware that when you're playing with overdrive, your right hand very often has to shut down the strings by muting them, by putting your palm on the strings. Whether it's a surprise ending or a sustained note, you have to decide how long you want a specific note to ring for. Just something for you to think about. Now, I'm going to demonstrate with the backing music what the split harmonics will sound like. Now, just a word about vibrato. If you're playing some very fast phrases, the dynamic phrases, you may want to end on a note and play the vibrato at the speed of the phrase. For example, if I'm playing something fast and I stop there just dead with no vibrato, it sounds like I've completely come to an abrupt stop. But if I play something similar, and I wiggle my finger to create the vibrato at about the speed of the notes I was playing in the dynamic phrase, it sounds less like an abrupt stop. I'll just demonstrate that with some backing music. We're going to learn a concept of phrasing now, which I call playing the spaces. Now, what does that mean? It's a rather strange idea to get across, but it goes something like this. Instead of always filling every spare moment with guitar sounds and creating phrases at every opportunity, you try and hold back and create a space. Now, by doing that, it actually draws the audience or the listener in. Of course, it's not easy to do, because if you're a bit anxious when you're performing, there's a temptation to play all the time. What you have to do is take a deep breath and tell yourself, I want to play now, but I'm going to hold back. Then at the last minute, when you're just bursting at the seams to play, you finally play a phrase. This creates some very interesting original ideas and helps you develop your own style, as well as bringing the audience a great deal of joy in your performance. Let me demonstrate as best as I can for you now how to play the spaces with some backing music. Now, here I'm dying to play. Well, I have to get started. Now, as you can hear from that example of me playing the spaces, each phrase was accompanied by a slight gap. You try as best you can at the beginning of the solo to create as many gaps as you can, but obviously as the solo progresses, the distance between the gaps and the spaces gets lesser and less. Otherwise, people will wonder, why aren't you playing? So you have to kind of play it by feel. Generally, at the beginning of a solo is a good place to play the spaces. Now that brings up another point. Dynamic phrases versus melodic phrases. You've got to realize the type of phrases you choose are not written in stone. There's no law. You have to go by feel. For example, if you've got a very fast groove taking place just before your solo, and you've only got a short solo, so many bars to play it in, you may want to do no melodic phrases at all, just a huge burst of fast notes. If you've got a slow groove, or a situation where you've got lots of room to play the spaces and you've got a lot of room to play some really nice melodic phrases, then at that point you may find you're doing more melodic compared to dynamic riffs at the time. So you just have to feel what's going on and generate the appropriate mood using those two types of phrases to fit the music. I'd like to conclude now with a few phrases in the mid-range on the third string and one final tip for you. This is, I would say, a semi-melodic, semi-dynamic phrase. It sounds like this. And it begins with the 5th fret, 3rd string, goes to the 7th fret, you mute the string with the right hand thumb, bend it up silently, play the note, drop it down, stretch your fingers and pull off. We get... Then this is followed by playing the 7th fret on the 3rd string. So the first half goes... Again. The second half of the phrase will be 5th fret, 7th. Now we do a little mini bar on the 2nd and 3rd strings and hit the 2nd string and then the 3rd. So we get, continue on to the 4th string, 7th fret. I'll play that again. And the whole thing up to that point. And then to round it off, we flatten the 3rd finger down, play the 3rd string, 7th fret, 5th, and then 4th string, 7th fret. That's the rounding off at the end. Here's the whole thing. That's a very nice, useful phrase to use whenever you can fit it in with the groove permitting. Now here's another thing you should try and watch out for. When you're climbing along the neck in the pentatonic, a lot of players for the first time feel tempted to bend this note. Remember, this note is the 10th fret, 2nd string. And if you bend it, that is our main keynote. It's very easy to sound quite awful. So what I recommend, if you must bend this string at all, bend it 1.5 steps. That is, when you bend, it pitches the 11th fret, 13th fret on the 2nd string, which will be one of our other pentatonic notes. Now I'm going to demonstrate both these points I've shown you with some backing music now. If I bend this very slightly, it really sounds dreadful, but if I give it a full 1.5 bends, it sounds really good when we bend right up to that 13th fret. Now back to this phrase. Here it's rather fast with the background groove. That's more at half speed. Again.